Bacteria are prokaryotes lacking well-defined nuclei and membrane-bound organelles and with chromosomes composed of a single closed DNA circle. Now let's talk about the structure of the bacteria. The bacteria has a cell envelope. The cell envelope is made up of 2 to 3 layers: the interior cytoplasmic membrane, the cell wall, and an outer capsule. Capsule is the third protective covering made up of polysaccharides, which is a complex carbohydrates. The cell wall. Each bacterium is enclosed by a rigid cell wall composed of peptidoglycan, a protein sugar which is a polysaccharide molecule. The wall gives the cell its shape and surrounds the cytoplasmic membrane, protecting it from the environment. Flagella are hair-like structures that provide a means of locomotion for those bacteria that have them. Villi. Many species of bacteria have villi, small hair-like projections emerging from the outside cell surface. Without villi, many disease-causing bacteria lose their ability to infect because they are unable to attach to host tissue. Now let's talk about the cytoplasm. It is composed of water, enzymes, nutrients, wastes, and gases, and it also contains cell structures such as ribosomes, a chromosome, and plasmids. Ribosomes are microscopic factories found in all cells, including bacteria. They translate the genetic code from the molecular language of nucleic acid to that of amino acid, which means that they are the building blocks of proteins. Bacterial cells are about 1/10 the size of eukaryotic cells, and they are typically 0.5 to 5.0 micrometers in length. Bacteria are classified into 5 groups according to their basic shapes. The coccus, which is the spherical bacteria. The bacilli, which is the rod-shaped bacteria. Vibrio, which is the comma-shaped bacteria. Spirali, which is the spiral-shaped bacteria. Spirochete, which is the corkscrew-shaped bacteria. Now let's talk about the way of infection. Bacteria are transmitted to humans through air, water, food, or living vectors. The principal modes of transmission of bacterial infection are contact, airborne, droplet, vectors, and vehicular. Contact transmission. Contact includes direct skin-to-skin or mucous membrane to mucous membrane contact. Airborne. Some bacteria are carried on air currents. Vectors, typically the arthropods such as mosquitoes, ticks, and louses, take a blood meal from an infected host, which can be human or animal, and transfers pathogens to an uninfected individual. Now let's talk about bacterial diseases. Necrotizing fasciitis, which is the flesh-eating disease, and it is a serious infection most often caused by Streptococcus pyogenes bacteria. The S. pyogenes are cocci-shaped bacteria that typically colonize the skin and throat areas of the body. The S. pyogenes are flesh-eating bacteria producing toxins that destroy the body cells, specifically red blood cells and white blood cells. Staph infection. The methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus (MRSA) are bacteria that can cause serious health issues. MRSA is a strain of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria or staph bacteria that have developed a resistance to penicillin and penicillin-related antibiotics, included methicillin. MRSA is typically spread through physical contact and must breach the skin through a cut, for example, to cause an infection. Meningitis. Bacterial meningitis is an inflammation of the protective covering of the brain and the spinal cord, known as meninges. This is a serious infection that can lead to brain damage and even death. A severe headache is the most common symptom of meningitis. Now let's talk about viruses. A virus is a small collection of a genetic code, either DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein code. A virus cannot replicate alone, it has to be in the host cell. Viruses are much smaller than bacteria. They consist of a single or double-stranded nucleic acid, whether it is a DNA or RNA, surrounded by a protein shell called the capsid. Some viruses have an outer envelope composed of lipids and proteins, and they vary in shapes. Most viruses vary in diameter, from 20 nanometers to 250 to 400 nanometers. The largest one measure about 500 nanometers in diameter and are about 700 to 1000 nanometers in length. Let's talk about the virus shape. First, the helix shape. These viruses are composed of a single type of a capsomer stacked around a central axis to form a helix structure, which may have a central cavity or hollow tube. Second, the complex shape. These viruses possess a capsid that is neither purely helic nor purely isosahedral, and that may possess extra structures such as protein tails or a complex outer wall. The third one is the envelope shape. Some species of virus envelop themselves in a modified form of one of the cell membranes, either the outer membrane surrounding an infected host cell or internal membranes such as nuclear membrane or endoplasmic reticulum, thus gaining an outer lipid bilayer known as a viral envelope. Now the fourth one, which is the polyhedral viruses, which consist of a nucleic acid surrounded by a polyhedral, which means many-sided shell or capsid, usually in the form of icosahedron. An icosahedral virus is a virus consisting of identical subunits that make up equilateral triangles. Now let's talk about the viral ways of infection. Virus can be transmitted through touch. For example, a person that has a virus on his hands and they touch their nose, mouth, or eyes, the virus can enter the body. Respiratory droplets. Some viruses can be present in respiratory droplets. A person produces these when they cough or sneeze. Direct contact is a main reason for virus infections. Some viruses may spread through direct contact with a person that has the virus. Blood fluids. HIV, for example, can pass from one person to another through the exchange of semen or blood. Now let's talk about viral diseases. First, chickenpox, which is a viral illness that causes a blister-like rash. The rash first appears on the face and trunk and then spreads throughout the body. Second, herpes. It results from infection with the herpes simplex virus, HSV. It causes sores or blisters to form in or around the mouth or genitals, as well as other symptoms. Ebola virus disease is a serious, often fatal condition in humans and non-human primates. Ebola is one of several viral hemorrhagic fevers caused by infection with a virus of the Filoviridae family, genus Ebola virus. Thank you for watching.